What's up?
Aren't you doing it for the likes?
Nah, I ain't doing it for the likes.
Okay, hold up. So you doing it for the pussy?
Nah, I mean, yeah, no, I ain't doing it for that.
Okay, then what are you doing it for?
Man, I do it for the culture. I don't know how you telling me you from New York and you don't got no bars. I know you freestyle with somebody back in the day. You got a battle with a comic. Comics all rap in the car on the way to the gig. Do we not? Do we not freestyle?
No, not really. Not really.
You never hit the road with comics and y'all just freestyle like 3-4 hours to it, like Boston or some shit?
No, we should cover this on the air.
It's already...
You're sparking good stuff.
We already are.
We are?
I'm just talking.
Oh, we really? All right.
We already in it.
All right,
we in here.
no, you know, like it's a lot of the guys I'd roll with. Like it's like JB Smooth was actually JB Smooth introduced me to what's his name? That's how tired I am.
So good. We got a first name drop.
Okay.
30 seconds in.
Exactly.
I'm nice like that.
Okay, hold on. Wait, hold on. Donny Hathaway. Donny
Ooh,
Hathaway. Yeah,
okay.
that's how it so it's funny because what cracks me up is that you know all these guys in the clubs and then they have this one posture while they're in the clubs and then you're on the road with them and you find out that they are not the have we have this image of of ourselves being, but I rolled with older comics, so they always had a different taste, even though they could be hip hop. We were hip hop comedians, but everyone was still listening to,
They have their soul
old,
shit.
their old stuff, that was like their favorite. So Donny Hathaway is playing. We're in the car crying, and he's teaching me on how to how to be the rabbit. Let somebody else be your rabbit so you can race to the show that you're trying to get through.
Wisdoms that JB Smooth gave our guest for today, Maija. How's she doing? Welcome to For the Culture podcast. I'm your host, Nick Alexander. Here's my co-host, Amarie.
What's up, guys?
How we feeling?
I'm tired. That's why I'm still stuttering. So I had no coffee this morning. I was like, I gotta get some coffee.
Do we have coffee here?
Do we have any?
It's coming to the studio. We don't have coffee yet. We still getting shit together.
I'll bring coffee next time.
Oh, okay.
That means you have to come back.
I will come back.
Okay.
I'll come back for the coffee.
Come back for
I always do that. Come back
cup
for
of
the
coffee?
coffee. I do the podcast for the coffee.
How do you like your
delicious
coffee?
It's the best coffee ever.
I don't drink coffee, so you tell me, how do you like
Just
yours?
regular, because like New York, you have your regular coffee. Like out here, they got to have all kinds of ways to have coffees.
Chai
You know what? This is, I come from a half Italian family that growing up, we always used to say that nobody would ever drink Italian coffee. Like you were embarrassed that like everybody drink Italian coffee. Then all of a sudden it turned into everybody that's only drinks Italian coffee.
Wow.
So it's just kind of a funny, it's a funny thing, like things you were embarrassed of your culture that all of a sudden become shishi. And you were like, right before that, it was considered like, oh, look at those immigrants.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, we're all immigrants. My family's from Haiti. I don't think Haitian coffee's popping like that. But I was telling, nah, that's not the thing. My grandmother, I think she Folgers. We like Colombian coffee
Folgers.
and stuff like that. But I was telling Amarie, who's Cuban, like I had a Cuban
my
coffee.
coffee's crack.
And
It's
that's
crack.
like, it's like a
Yes.
shot.
Yes.
It's like,
the colada.
It's like,
It'll have you up all day.
Yeah,
and with the shits, it's just ridiculous.
Your Miami, I always route into Miami, even though I'm flying to go to Fort Myers, Cape Coral. I always fly into Miami so I can go to Versailles.
Versailles.
yeah, that's
Yeah,
some
then I'm
low-key
getting my
shit.
little pastries and
Yeah.
Versailles owe you some money now. You just gave him a nice little plug.
Yeah.
just give me free food.
Versailles.
You know when you're ready to.
Give us some empanadas and some coffee.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That place is insane.
Yeah, it's really good.
Yeah.
We talking about a lot of food, yo. Now I got the taste of empanadas. Like I didn't
You
eat breakfast.
don't even have an empanada like you had an empanada down there.
Oh, so
Those
it's
things
not
are like
even-
turnovers.
Okay.
They're like a turnover. Like you can get they have these little empanada shots out here. Like here's a famous little and then it's so the pastry so like bulky that they can actually stamp it with a logo.
I went to the bakery this morning and I got an empanada, a beef empanada. And when I got it, I told her, yeah, can you get the beef empanada? And she looked at me, she's like, okay. And she gave it to me. It was disgusting. It was so bad.
She tried to like tell you, look, you don't have to do this to yourself.
Yeah, she's like, you don't have to. She's like, you want that? Okay.
Yeah, it's hard to make anything real because they're like. This place was.
It had 2 whole olives in it.
2 whole olives.
Whole, yeah.
Oh
2
my
of them.
goodness.
I was
You didn't
like,
have to spit the seed out in the middle of
think
it,
I've
did
ever
you?
had an
no, it was
empanada.
like the green one with the little
No,
red
I
thing.
know.
Yeah.
I was just joking. It'd be funny if she was like, I'd like to do.
It becomes a science project eating that empanada.
You know what they don't have out here either?
What
beef
else LA
patties.
don't have?
Beef patties.
Like Jamaican beef
patties.
patties.
Yeah, you can't get Jamaican beef
I
patties for
haven't seen
nothing.
any Jamaican.
Have you been to that Jamaican spot? This one on Pico.
Yeah, it's
Franz told me about.
yeah, that place. But that place
not
isn't
good?
as we jammin'. They're
Yeah,
not.
We Jammin'.
They don't have beef patties. They used to have a place called Cooley's, and their beef patties were actually better. And they don't have cocoa bread, so it's like stuff you
Fuck.
can. It's
Maija, you bring
very
so much
frustrating.
nostalgia right now. Like they had
Food
LA got no
nostalgia.
Chinese takeout, no beef patties.
Well,
like,
they have those trucks, with the construction workers. They got the beef patties there. But man,
I would because you know why?
LA trucks send you to the toilet. Like
Well, the LA trucks
I had
too.
horrible diarrhea a couple weeks ago. I did a Comic-Con.
Yeah.
Right at the convention center, and we went to the truck outside. Paid $15 for some bullshit ass burger that I had to wait an hour in line to get because the truck was swamped. And then this was the one day I decided, you know what, LA's gonna be too crazy. I'm not gonna drive today. I'm gonna take an Uber there. And then I'm taking the train on the way back home, and I feel it in my stomach, and I had to walk like 10 minutes to get back to where I was staying at the time, and I kind of didn't make it. Okay.
So no trucks.
No LA trucks. Not
No LA trucks.
Well,
But
maybe not in that environment where there's like a big Comic-Con thing happening because it was just too many people. They're just rushing that food out. They're not really making sure it's vetted out.
It's tough. I mean, especially if there's it's not like they're rolling up to like the Jamaican. There's no Jamaican culture out here, so you get sporadic guys, so they're not servicing. I mean, I went down by the airport
Italian
down
culture's
there.
good out here. I've
No,
been to
it's
some-
terrible.
What?
Terrible.
I've had some good Italian food.
You don't even. Oh God, I got to take you to eat.
All right.
We're gonna just have to do a food tour. You're kidding me? The Italian food is horrific out here. I actually brought my own tomatoes over so I could.
Me
make
and my boy
tomato
went
sauce.
to a spot in Burbank.
I thought you said I brought my grandma over to make that tomatoes.
No, I actually learned it
Put
all.
her in a
My
suitcase.
grandmother, my grandmother actually passed away, so I ended up when she got sick in the end because I was always because I'm half black too, so I was always like I was always being like, nah, I'm not gonna do that. I'm not gonna be cooking for some man. I'm not that. And my grandmother's like, you better learn. I can not live forever.
Yeah.
And then she started to get sick, and I was like, oh my God, I'm gonna starve. Teach me. So I had to learn everything. So now I'm in charge of all the holidays.
You haven't.
And have you cooked for a man?
Oh yeah,
Okay.
that's like that's
your thing. That's your move now. That's my closer.
That's the move. Yeah, that's
how I close the
exactly.
deal.
It's yeah, exactly.
That's like the massage for guys. You know how guys are like,
Yeah, well, you can't even get the kind of Italian food. Like I'm a first generation Italian. My father didn't get his citizenship till he was like in his 30s.
So it's good.
Yeah, my Italian food is insane, and so it's really hard. There's one pizza place out here though, but he's also from Sicily. So we I go over there and I'm like, could you send it over? Is this person a pie over there? I sent a couple pies over to the Improv because Rita's Sicilian and her mom passed away. So I called him. I'm like, I make a special because she's Italian, and she's like, oh, he's so cute.
She must have appreciated that.
Yeah, she was
I
like,
love
no,
Rita.
this is how Italian she is. She's like, I cried over the pizza because it reminded me of my mother. So only Italians will get food and cry over it. That's how
Emotional.
crazy we are for
Cry
food.
over the food,
Yeah,
but it's
very special.
That Italian food is worth crying over if we have to keep it real. If we keep it 100.
Yeah, there's nothing.
I
There
love
is
Italian
nothing
food.
out
Italian
here
food's
that
really
is. But go
Okay.
to Joe's. At least they have the right marinara sauce, and they make a great crust. They make a good Sicilian pie. You can't even get Sicilian pie out here.
Yeah.
Joe's. They're on Sunset, and they have them on Santa Monica, right
Okay.
on the by the boulevard before you go down on the.
I feel like this isn't your first run out here in LA. Have you done the LA thing before, the Hollywood grind before?
No, well,
Let's take us into that, Maija. Let's good transition right there,
I
right?
quit doing comedy for many years,
Really?
and then I came out here to do indie films.
How long would you say you quit?
I can't tell you because it'll really age me.
We're not ageist here at the
Well, let's
for
just
the
say
culture.
she started doing stand up when she was a baby.
Yeah, I started doing stand up when I was a little baby, which I did start really early.
Yes.
But
Okay.
I think it was maybe about 10 years,
Okay.
maybe longer than that.
I mean, look, I commend you for coming back and coming back with a fire. Like, I mean, I know you've been back a couple years, I'm sure, before you made.
About like I think it's really kicked in the last like 8 months. But I
Okay.
came back. I started dabbling. Like I dabble because that's how I paid my bills. Because if somebody called me all those years, they'd
still-
go by, they'd
that
call me up,
reputation,
and they
yeah.
were like, "Hey, can you do a gig?" And I'm like, "How much?" Okay, I'll go do it. And then I go there and I'd make up the show. So I never really did the homework that I was supposed to do because I hated it so much.
Okay.
And then I was into indie films, and then I was filming at an event. I guess it's been about 3 years ago. I was filming
Okay.
at an event, and I met Robert Townsend, and he was like, "Oh, send me your stuff. I want to see it." And I sent him some old stuff, and he called me up. And he's like, "Don't you ever pick up a camera again?"
Whoa.
And he cussed me out for like 20 minutes
Wow.
about my life choices, and then he made me write 3 hours of comedy specials.
Wow.
And they kept checking. He's like, well, why don't you have them? You go on the road. I'm like, because I make it up. I don't.
I'm so fucking. I'm just winging this shit.
I'm winging it. I haven't sat down and done the work.
Yeah.
And then it took so long because I'm like, I don't want to just turn you in crap. You know, when you're like a legend. I don't want to be like turning in this legend like this hokey set. So I like really.
Since we're on the subject of Robert Townsend, Maija, you got to tell me, what the fuck has Robert been doing? I've been worried about him since Meteor Man and Parenthood. Like, I don't know what Robert is fucking doing. I love Robert Townsend. I see him in pictures and shit, and I met him at the American Black Film Festival last year. It was super dope. Like, they had like a 20-year thing anniversary, and so he came out and gave a nice, big, great speech. And I know he's involved with, like, he still gives people like advice and shit, but I'm just like, what is he doing? What's he doing?
He's working on shows, sitcoms, and scripts, and he does direct like a lot of documentaries.
Oh,
like he just did a big documentary for the Academy Awards.
Okay.
And he does. And he teaches at USC.
He teaching. Okay.
And
So he's getting a good check.
Yeah,
He's giving back. He's giving back.
Well, you know what? That's actually what he actually did was he took off a few years back. He went down to Miami and he took like 5,000 homeless kids and made a movie with them.
Wow.
And then he made a big chunk of them the executive producers of the film.
Wow.
But what happened was when he was gone there so long making the film, like people didn't like he ended up having to put his own money into it.
Yeah.
But he was like helping recondition kids' brains so they could succeed.
Yeah.
And so he does a lot on the education circuit. He's always doing like empowerment speeches and this and that. And but he's going to get back into performing because he's got a one-man show.
Yeah, I heard about it. I heard it's dope.
Yeah, it's incredible. So he's been doing that. And today, actually, he's down at the Nate Holden Theater.
I saw you promoting that. He's doing
seminar.
it.
His godmother passed away, so he's doing like a performance memorial and he's hosting.
Okay.
That has all these different artists on it. It's a fundraiser for her family.
Oh, nice.
And then he's doing an autograph signing. Then he's doing a pitch class. At night tonight at the Nate Holden.
Okay.
For only
very
$50, which is crazy.
Yeah,
so it's like 7 to 9. But
that's dope, but that he thinks so highly of you that he's part of the reason why you came back into stand-up?
He's completely the reason I came. I couldn't escape. Like I was like grounded. He like turned into like dad. Like he'd show up and like I shut my phone off and he'd be throwing rocks at the window of my house. Like, you working? I'm like, you got to be kidding me. He'd come running upstairs. Like, come on, let's go to work.
He cares.
And then we like driving out. Like he'd like drive out to the beach and make me do these jokes. I'm like, I can't. Like you're driving up Malibu Canyon. I'm going to be sick. I can't read it right.
But as a comic, you love to have somebody like that pushing you like that. You know what I mean?
And he made me go through.
At his level, I mean,
I know, it was crazy. And then I literally ended up writing 4 hours of specials. And then he edited pulled out my hour for me and said, this is what I want you to do for the first introductory hour. Yeah. And then he actually helped me write a sitcom too. That was kind of matching my story.
Okay. So do you go by Maija or do you go by your full name?
Well,
are you like Prince? You just one word?
No, I you know what? I wanted to do my full name, and I'm starting to just for marketing drop it. Yeah. Because the spelling is so hard to catch people's eyes that it becomes like white noise with the DiGiorgio next to it. So I used to, when I first started, because everybody just had a hard time with my last name, I just said, fine, just do Maija. And then, because Maija.
It's easy.
Yeah. And then Digiorgio. It's like, oh my gosh, with the J and the what, nobody even knows how to pronounce it. So I kind of tried to
like whole Maija D. Like, I don't.
Well, that's what Sinbad was calling me. Sinbad was like, he was like, do Maija D. And I'm like, no, that's a little too hip hop for me. And then, like, I don't mind it, if it's in a, like if it's not a credit, but if somebody has to come see me, that they can't, and they feel like they can't even say my name, it gets to be like, what the heck is that?
Same problem. So I'm not giving you my real last name, but it was really hard to pronounce my last name, and so I'd go open mics and they'd have trouble reading it, just like they did when I was like in elementary when they do attendance. And I'm like, I can't go through this shit. So my middle name is Alexander, and I use my middle name. So Nick Alexander, super easy, digestible. There's no way you can fuck that up on the intro. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
so,
that sounds.
Because my last name is like a French last name.
What is it?
We'll talk about that off the air. I gotta be mysterious. I can't give it all away.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Yeah, that's what happened to me too. My name is Amarie Lee Rodriguez. That's but since people can't pronounce Amarie Lee, I just said Amarie Lee. Boom.
Yeah,
oh, wow.
Done.
Well, wait till you start to get some TV credits and you start going back to that. You'll be like, because you want to set up. Because the thing is, you want to be different.
Yeah.
So at the same time, but it's funny because like Robert's like, no, you need to have your last name. You need to have your last name. I like your last name. And then Sinbad's like, keep the one name. It's too hard to say the last name.
Yeah.
but so I really,
contradicting advice from the legends.
I'm sitting there like, I'm literally like, oh, you got to be kidding me. Robert's like, I want every word scripted. And Sinbad's like, I'm going to distract you so you don't do anything scripted. I'm like, oh my God, I'm caught between both of them. That's like going to be a war. So I really
Sinbad and Robert Townsend are now beefing because of their conflict.
No, they love each other. But it's funny because it's just gotten like. So I do feel like it's we're now talking about branding, and you have to brand your name.
Smart.
And the thing is, you don't want it to be like anybody else's. But when people see just my first name, it takes a minute and they'll re-recognize it. But if they see all those things, so if somebody says it on stage, I say just say Maija. Otherwise I don't mind it written down.
Okay.
If somebody's like in a program or or it's in a
tidbit for
credit.
For the listeners. Once we start getting some listeners, because we have this is gonna be the first official episode.
Yeah.
Maija here was technically the first white woman on Def Jam who performed on Def Jam.
Well, no, it isn't technically right because I'm not white.
But you half white.
I'm half white.
Okay.
But they didn't give me the credit for it. See, that's the thing that pissed
Them
me off.
motherfuckers.
Because
No invite to the reunion. Did you go to the reunion?
Yes, I did go.
Okay, you did go. So at least they thought about you enough.
They considered the first white person to tape Def Jam was Rich Voss, and they taped after me. So he taped literally the show after.
But he aired before you, or you aired before?
No, we're the same season.
Same season, okay.
But I'm not see, here's the hardest thing is that because especially hip hop comedy back then.
Yeah.
It was like hip hop was so hard back then. It was like the comedy was so hard back then too. So they put you through hell. So I'd have to go on stage.
Yeah, our hell rooms are nothing like what I hear the stories about what they used to go through in New York City.
What you guys used to go through?
We used to, they pull guns on comedians on stage.
Really?
I'd walk on stage every night and they yell, white bitch, get off the stage.
The audience members.
Yes, always.
Yo,
white
who the
bitch,
fuck
get off
is
the
this
stage.
white bitch? Like,
Yeah.
kind of
And
shit
you
like
guys
that.
didn't have like security?
No.
It's just the comics if they have enough spine to stand up for each other.
So basically, so what was the problem is that being not white, then I'd have to explain everything. So if I was a white comedian, I could have just said like, yeah, hoo, I'm crazy, I'm white, but I'm not white, and I do not want.
Yeah,
And I get and,
like Voss could do that, but you
when
couldn't.
when you're light skinned and people have given you crap your entire life for
Right,
looking white. That's like your elbow. Like, what? I ain't white. Like every like light skinned black person's got an issue.
I was gonna say Maija. They find out Maija would go off and then scare the hood niggas, so he'd be like, I'm black motherfucker. He's like, oh, you got it, fam.
Yeah, that's exactly what would happen. That's exactly how it would go down. Yeah, and so.
Don't tell me
I'm like, my God, you're telling me back my life, and I forgot about that. That's exactly what would happen. So, but I had to set up. So I had to set up my set a certain way,
Right.
And I'd always have to identify like. And I worked with a group called Uptown Comedy Club, and they used to have a TV show way back in the day.
With
And
Kev Brown in them, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Andre and Kevin. So
Okay.
Andre Brown was the guy who taught me really like how to restructure my set. And they like launched Tracy Morgan and like a lot of guys came through there.
I'm really cool with Kev because when I was coming up, we worked a lot at the Ha Comedy Club together. Remember Ha in Times Square?
Oh shoot.
Yeah, and then now it's like LOL. There's a Midtown club that they still manage. It's the same structure with like 6 shows a night. Just
Yeah,
they
I
fucking
know exactly what you're talking
bleeding
about.
the tourist dry, but
Yep.
but Kev still performs it. So we got really cool when I was working there a lot, and he told me about the whole Uptown days, and I think he's doing a documentary on it.
Yeah, I heard about that.
There's
They
a lot
kept
of
calling.
cool-
They were calling me about it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because Uptown was incredible. So they taught me how to do comedy, but like
Nice.
they also taught me how to move things around and had like if you're an obese comedian, especially in a black crowd, if you're an obese comedian, you need to you have to identify that like you're not up there blind. If you look different than what you're supposed to look, then you need the first line in comedy is admit that this is something. Just make a little
if
joke.
you got missing teeth, you gotta put that joke out there.
That's what
Yeah.
they say.
Yeah, especially in a black comedy room. Like white comedy rooms are funny. The white comedy rooms is a whole different nut to crack.
How do you feel about that? Like, because you seem like you did both coming up.
Well, I wasn't trying to do comedy at first, and I was trying to do a one-person show. So I went in and I did all this material, and I crushed in like the white room. So then I was like, then the next night I went back, like didn't really work, and I went back and it crushed them. So I was trying to figure it out, and they kept saying to me, "Well, it's going to take 2 years before you were allowed to ever work at this club." And my cousin was this production manager for Uptown Comedy Club, so she told me about Uptown.
Okay.
So I went up to Uptown, and I went up there and I did my set, and everyone was like, it was just a whole different, you suck, you can't do this in a black room, this isn't funny, and it was this whole other experience because I came up from really like black elite Broadway. That's my family, are black elitists in Broadway. So like my uncle was a Tony Award winning choreographer. My mother was what they'd call a chanteuse, and she sang in 7 languages all through Europe.
got
And the
showbiz
UN
blood.
ambassador would send her all over, and she would go to Haiti all the time.
Oh, dope.
And Yeah, so I grew up with this elite group, and it's really funny because I'm just now figuring the group out. And Robert actually helped me realize, like, no, that's not your tribe. Like this whole and if you had created your full career in this tribe of hip hop,
right,
you would have been caught there, and there was only so far I could go in this lane. So I had to learn to be part of this other scene.
Right.
And people say, well, that's the white side, and it wasn't, because I always had a joke about people. I can't tell if somebody doesn't like me because I think I'm lower class and white, or know that I'm upper class and light. So that's always been the problem, and I never knew where I placed. So for me, I was always such like tomboy, cool. I can hang out with anybody. So if somebody say no, I'll be like, yes, I can, but I didn't realize what I was doing to my art.
Gotcha.
Because they're jokes that I learned to do, which crushed, and I learned a whole different style of comedy in Def Jam. But now Robert went back to some of those first jokes I did and was like, this is brilliant. This is the best bit you have. Forget all this. What are you even doing? And this is the stuff I was told to throw out.
Wow.
Which were all characters and storytelling and point of view, but you couldn't do that in those rooms, because in those rooms you were fighting a room, especially with the way I look. You're fighting a room and you're having to perform a totally different way. It's
an upscale battle. We're already starting out in the negatives, and we have to.
Yeah, and it's interesting. There's a lot of great things that are probably the most important tools I learned in comedy coming through what was known as the Chitlin Circuit in New York. I mean, that's...
So you were thriving, you were making money, right?
Yeah.
And money was great in the 90s. Every comic tells me within a year you were like making decent money on the gigs.
Yeah,
funny
yeah.
enough.
It's funny. The white rooms wouldn't pay you, but the black rooms would pay you.
Yeah.
And then you can get easy TV credits. So you can get your Def Jam, you get your Apollo, you can get like they used to have like, I was too late for it, but they used to do like Apollo Comedy Hour,
right.
Uptown Comedy Club. So there was a circuit, and once you had those gigs, people would pay you for your gigs. Like I did like Def Comedy Jam Tour,
yeah,
you know what I mean, and stuff. There were a lot of different things, and there was a nice little run of like Chitlin Circuit rooms. But then you're always fighting for your money and this and that, and it just.
You have any stories about like how hard a promoter tried to like not pay you? Like where you had to like
promoter's not paying. Well, yeah, there's this guy. In fact, he was online commenting on the Monique thread.
We're gonna get into that too. Okay. We talked about last week, but fuck it, we're gonna do it again.
The Monique,
just
the
her whole
Netflix
situation,
thing?
and
Yeah,
Netflix thing.
There was this promoter, and he jumped on and had his comment. And there's a comedian named Mugga that I came up with, and Mugga is
Mugga Phoenix.
I love her.
Yeah.
I love Mugga. So she's doing really well as an actress now. So I'm like, yes. Coming out of like, because you don't hear from people, and all of a sudden you see them coming out of nowhere and they're winning.
Is she LA based?
No, she's
New York.
In New York. Okay.
Yeah.
And and like when you come up on that little circuit like we did, there's like family,
For sure.
So she's killing, and so she posts something about the Monique thing, and this guy starts making his comments, and I'm like, wait a minute, you're the last dude that should be making comments about. And I actually posted this. I was like, screw it. I was like, about comedians and what they should be getting paid. Yeah. Because I said, I've gone to gigs. He said, you booked me on gigs, paid me $800, made me fly across the country for an $800 gig. And then when I said, when are you going to pay me more? And I still had to pay my travel. I said, when are you going to pay me more? He said, when you get funnier. And then I
see
hang
the
out.
bullshit we deal with?
Now here you go. And then I hang out with the booker, and the booker told me that they paid $3,500 for me.
Wow.
And then I go back to the hotel, and the booker and the guy who put me in the gig hits on me. So then you're like locking your door, and you're going like, really? Like you have. So now here you are after all the comedians you have just ripped off.
Now you're trying
making comments about that's trying to fuck me, and then making comments about Monique. I just put them on blast on the page. And nobody. It's funny, it was a blast because nobody touched that comment afterwards.
But mad likes on it though.
And what did he say? What did he say?
He was speechless.
He didn't say. He said
shit.
Oh, he showed up on my page. Oh, happy birthday,
beautiful
motherfucker.
Please, please. You're lucky you're still walking.
Yeah. That's dope. I've had to learn because I like how you brought up that whole aspect of going on the road, traveling country, and when you stay and stuff like that. That's very important because I've learned like over the last few years, because I get along with a lot of female comics, and they like to talk to me about stuff like that, about how it's a lot harder, feeling safe on the road for women obviously than it is for men. Like you have to deal with the creeps, the promoters, and the guys at the hotel. Like the safety is definitely a higher concern than guys think. Than guys
it's
view
insane.
it. It's like such a different. And I didn't even think about that. And because when you talk about the stuff with some of Louis with girls chilling in the hotel room, or comics chilling in the hotel room, and it was just like, but that's what we just do that because we are just kicking it. Like it's very normal for comics to be in the hotel room.
Yeah,
together.
it's fine. Yeah, that's what I don't think people understand too, especially in Aspen, because Aspen was Aspen's like a Foursquare block radius on top of this mountain, and nobody, and like, so that it became like kind of a weird dorm thing anyway.
Right.
Because they had like 3 hotels. The big stars stayed at the St. Regis. All the black comedians, they put us at the Hotel Durant, and then everybody else got another hotel.
And were you usually like one of the only females there?
Well, no, they had a few different females because Aspen was put together by like it was an HBO festival.
Okay.
So they had a handful of females, but because of the way, and it was so cold out, but so what would happen was, like, I guess like Louis, because Louis was there. I'm guessing it might have been, I don't know which one it was when he was there. I'm guessing it was the first Aspen because the way the story sounds laid out, the first Aspen, Louis and Chappelle did a young comedian special from HBO.
Oh, yeah, I see
Dave
those on
Attell.
YouTube.
It was
Yeah.
Dave Attell as well.
Man, it looks
It was
so
like
different.
4 comics on it. The other
Louis
guy
has
is like
hair and
Harlan
everything.
Williams or one of those guys, like one of those, like, you know, the kind of like guys that
Legends.
Disney picked up. You know what I mean? So those are like the 4 guys on the show. So when they flew into Aspen, they were probably put up at St. Regis if it was HBO flying them up to tape. So if they were at the St. Regis, then what everybody gathered at the St. Regis. So downstairs it was like the fireplace and all the restaurants. So you stay there at the St. Regis till it was time to go back, and then you could kind of chill in your room. So everybody was running. Like, I remember being in like Chappelle's room, like 5 people in there and 6 people in there. Like everybody just rolled between
talking
rooms.
shit. You're smoking weed.
Yeah.
You know, now we
But
got
then-
video games in the
then all of a
hotel.
sudden, a guy comes out of the shower and he's like jerking off. And you're like, what? I mean, it comes out of the room, you know, like in the middle of it. I can see the ridiculous abruptness of it.
Yeah.
But like, you know.
Have you been like scared? You seem like a tough one, but I know everybody.
Oh, I've
feels
been through. That's the reason why I love comedy. It's just, it was too much. I on every level.
for your mental. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I have been through absolute, and the guys who really like were in the business now, that like the guys who really want to help me know just how much I've been through. Like Chappelle, like,
Okay.
it was like how much.
Yeah.
Like Bill Burr, they're like, it was ridiculous how much I went through. It's ridiculous. I might be. I think I might be up there. I'm
All right.
also.
You got,
I gotta be.
You got to
up
book
there.
when it's time. You got to book.
Yeah, No, I don't want to go back through it all.
Okay.
It was like, that's what kept me from wanting to go be funny. You know, your crazy scenarios. But I
feel
mean, there are female comics that are worse. That were like that got raped on the road or beaten by guys. But I had some pretty nasty head games and blackballing because of who you didn't sleep with, and you know, a lot of people worked real hard to make sure, like, you know, that we don't work. And then it's even now, it's just funny because you'll even go on a road with some guys and they'll be married and they'll be cool.
They have their
and
family.
they're fine.
Yeah.
And they're like, okay, now I'm safe. And then all of a sudden the wife's like, oh, you got with that bitch. Next thing you know, like, damn, yeah, can I just have a job?
Can I
just
live?
have a
Can
job?
I live with a gig?
I need to eat. You know what I mean? It's like,
feel you.
really?
It comes from every angle. It's like,
It's-
I'm just trying to make people laugh. I'm just trying
Yeah, trying to make a living.
trying to make
I mean,
a
there comes a
living.
point where like it comes a point where you're like, okay, I just want to, like, everybody else has got a living, you know. Like you go and look at my friends, they'll be like, man, you all have houses in Malibu. Oh, you know, I was ahead of you when we were working. Can I work?
Yeah.
Can I just work?
Can I get my place in the valley
I
or
mean,
some shit?
shoot, like Charlie Murphy used to say, if you gain 100 pounds, you'll be golden. You'll be a star. Just you could gain 100 pounds.
So Maija, how much would you have offered to Monique for a special? You think she's worth more than 500,000?
Yeah.
I definitely do. I felt like she was. I listened to her Sway interview, and she like made some good points about when she asked the questions to the Netflix executives, how they had to pause before they could answer that, and just like in terms of just dictate, because they have the money to pay. To say that they don't, or they don't feel that she's worth. I think it was just like it was bullshit.
Well, they gave Wanda.
And they gave Wanda less, and I think Wanda definitely should make more than Monique. I think if we compare the stand-up tip, because like even though she did a comedy, like I think Almost Christmas, I feel like Wanda's a way more decorated in stand-up, and I think
Well, white
more
people
known as-
have accepted Wanda.
and white people, right.
White people have accepted Wanda.
Monique got that black bass, which is powerful.
Monique
still.
got the Oscar.
And she has the Oscar,
Okay,
but
but,
Wanda
you
got
know.
classic specials. Like
Yeah,
they both should get 4 or 5 mil.
They were two different,
to 10.
completely different style of comedians. I
Absolutely.
mean, Wanda was a comedy seller comic.
Right,
You know,
right.
She came up through
Material.
comedy seller comic, and,
Yeah.
and Monique really had to build it on her own. Monique was down in Baltimore, had like the hot rooms. I mean, it's real. Monique
so different.
busted her ass. I'll never forget when she first got in the door.
Okay.
It was Montreal.
Right.
But it was like, how did she finally get into Montreal? Somebody finally put her into Montreal.
Right,
And then
okay.
she crushed it. And then
Yeah.
all this stuff happened from it.
Yeah.
But it was like, you know, Monique having to do 10 times the work
Right.
than what Wanda had to do in New York.
Because she wasn't Monique didn't do the New York circuit, right?
She
just
didn't.
used to come
So
in and
it
do
was
runs.
hard. And she would do Chitlin Circuit where
Right.
Wanda never did.
Never.
Wanda never, she came from DC, but she always went straight into the mainstream rooms. But Wanda for a long time was mediocre.
Okay.
She wasn't like crushing it. Like you could never put Wanda and Monique on the same show. You put Wanda and Monique on the show.
I can tell
Monique would wipe the stage with her.
Because I talked to my friend, like there's a difference between somebody having great material and then effectiveness. Mm-hmm. So like even if you don't think somebody's act is that great in terms of substance or whatever like that, but how explosive they are on stage is still hard to follow them, as opposed to some comics where they have great material, they're very followable. Like it's
But you know who's the only person I know who holds the between rooms.
Yeah.
The best is Tony Woods. Tony Woods is the best at balancing
any kind of setting.
And Dave has done everything to emulate as close as he possibly can Tony Woods.
Really?
But I don't think
still, because I understand Tony was his mentor, and
that's the reason why he had him on the road the last few months, and then pulled him off all the big shows.
Oh, okay.
And then you could see the whole thing. His entire cadence is Tony Woods. Do you ever do it? Like I have a friend who's like this character, that's like this girl Flavia, and I always do Famika, and and all I have to do is I can do anything as Famika, because all I got to do is talk like this, and then I'm funny. So if I just do an impression of somebody else, then it's a lot easier to build your cadence around an impression of somebody.
Okay, so we talking about cadence, because when I watch Tony's jokes, and then I've been watching Dave's specials. I feel like Tony, he doesn't write the same way Dave. I think Dave's writing is different, but I understand with cadence and things like that.
Tony used to say when Tony went. Tony used to run Dave around.
Okay, right.
Because his mother asked him to, and then Tony went to the Gulf War, and then when he came back, Dave was doing Tony.
Right.
And everyone was making jokes when they sent him off. The roast was when they sent him off to war was Tony's going to die and everyone's going to take his material. So Tony came back.
Yeah.
And Dave was doing his exact cadence.
Okay.
And so everyone was like, "Wow!" He's like, "You read a book." Dave has more education, so Tony's perspective,
right,
with mixed with Dave's perspective, world perspective mixed with Tony's style style down to how he holds a cigarette,
right,
to how he holds his head, to how he postures, to how he moves, to things he says
on
stage, off stage too.
Oh, off stage too. Wow.
Completely.
Tony Woods is an OG though. He's one of the best.
Completely, like the exact same phrases in regular conversation. It's a little trippy.
Yeah.
It's like a little bit like.
So he threw Tony some bones and then pulled him off the big shows?
He didn't throw him any bones. He buried him. He blackballed him.
Okay. That's real talk. Maija, so...
But Tony loves Dave like a son. It's like, that doesn't, you know what I mean? He looks at him like, he's like, I love him. I will never hate on him. I'll always want him to succeed. That's how beautiful Tony is.
Tony is a beautiful guy.
Yeah.
His laugh is just like, he always
What's
tells
his laugh? What's the impression?
Man.
Yeah.
Stop it. What?
Yeah. But I love Dave. I know, and I was friends. I'm close. I've always been really super close with Dave. And I love Dave to death, and I'm glad he's succeeding.
Yeah.
But I wish he would help Tony. In fact, he actually told me like the last time I saw him, he's like, I did like he's like, I actually did a thing for Tony the other day, and I told a story at like the White House forum before like Obama got out about Tony. So he's trying to do stuff to kind of help him, but
produce that hour.
I don't think it's gonna happen.
It's not gonna happen.
No, because people scream at Tony now on stage, going, "Boo! You're trying to be Dave Chappelle."
That's the worst.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's kind of inhibited his ability to make some money.
So you also have a show that you're gonna be doing, right? I wanna get into what you're doing now. So I want to cover like what's Maija been up to. So you.
I don't know what I'm up to. Okay, go on.
Maija don't even know what she's planning. She plotting how she's gonna take over, because I follow you. We got to meet when Dale Harrison introduced me at your New York show. It was down, and then you really on it with the Facebook. You posting on Instagram. You're not getting into that fuck this little Instagram social media shit. Like you really on it. And I'm really happy to see that, because a lot of veteran comics sometimes don't want to embrace it, but it's very powerful, to promote yourself and being active, just doing stupid videos and pics and writing statuses. It's very important. People read that shit.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because it's actually, you can look at it as a pain in the neck, or you can look at it as an opportunity.
Yep.
So I think, a lot of good things are happening. We just got a show with Dash Radio.
Congratulations.
So I'm running that. It looks like we're going to be doing twice a week. We did the first one Friday, so it looks like we're supposed to be doing it twice a week there. And then I'm doing every
What's the
few
info
weeks.
on that for your show on Dash Radio?
You got to go to dashradio.com. It's called the Maija Show.
Okay.
Or you could just go to my Facebook because I'm going to broadcast. I actually just like sat up last night and was like, okay, we're doing all this stuff live. I'm going to do live switching straight off the board too. So you can watch it.
You're gonna just cover random, like you have your agendas, kind of what you want.
Yeah, it kind of runs like a morning show. I used to work like a morning show in New York.
So you say you used to work at Hot 97, right?
Yeah.
Is that correct? So
Yes.
tell us about that. What was that Hot 97 experience?
Oh,
like?
it was crazy. I used to be on the co-host with Ed Lover on the morning show. I
shit.
replaced Lisa G and Dr. Dre.
Okay.
And I kind of at least wish Dre was there because Ed Lover was really a piece of work.
Damn, son. Come on, son. Come on, Ed.
But it was, the whole thing was interesting. Like I actually I have a piece on that I wrote in my stand-up. I'm going to starting to display it because now I learned to write.
So what years are those? Like mid 90s?
No, late 90s.
Late 90s? Okay. But that was
2000s.
golden era hip hop.
Yeah, it's
Fuck,
golden era
man.
hip-hop.
What time did you guys used to come on? Because I started.
O'clock in the morning.
Oh wow! Because when I started like listening to radio, like when I in my school routine, because I'm a fucking youngin. I was the Star and Buckwild era.
Okay, Star and Buckwild were our writers, and when me and
They were your writers?
Yeah, and when me
Wow.
they claimed they were our writers. This is what they used to do. And this is like, man, I couldn't stand this shit. I come in, and they would go like, "We got these jokes for you." I'm like, This is from like Monteria Ivy's Snap book. Like they would literally take other comedians' jokes and come
they're
in,
not original.
Or
and
like
they would
those Google
hand
jokes? Like
no,
those-
stuff that was
just like snaps and
they would take literally jokes from other comedians and then come in and go, I'm writing. And I know the guys that they were stealing them from. So I'd be like, these aren't jokes. You can't do this stuff. And then it was just so bad. Like, oh, we're all comedians. Like, no, you're not comedians.
No.
You're not comedians.
You're not even a writer.
You're not even right. And then we all fought it out. And then I sued the station. I sued Hot.
You sued Hot.
And then
you took it to the man. You sued
then Ed lost his job because of the investigation of what happened to me at the station.
Oh.
Then Ed ended up getting.
Do you mind
getting
talking about
released.
that, or
I'm not supposed to.
All right,
I have a non-disclosure agreement.
all
But
right.
anyway, Ed lost his job.
Yeah, Maya's on some
so by
gangsta
the time
shit.
we were
Yeah.
by the time we battled
sue
this
these
one out,
motherfuckers
Right,
by
right.
the time we battled this one out, the only ones left standing were Starbuck Wild.
and they got the show. So Maya birthed Star and Buckwild. You heard it here first, yo. That's the
Suing
real
motherfuckers.
I'll
history.
tell you that. Somebody was telling me too. Somebody was like,
Yes.
I was listening to the radio and Star was talking to the African Bambaataa and they were discussing you. I'm like,
Yeah,
what
Star.
are you talking about?
He's back. So he does a show called. He took over for Joe Budden on Everyday Struggle, which
okay.
is something that Complex magazine they like on YouTube, and they have like a bunch of content.
Yeah.
So there was a show called Everyday Struggle, and basically the premise was like there was this young guy named DJ Academics. He has a huge social media following, like YouTube channel and Twitch. He's on all the new kids like him. Joe Budden is the quote unquote bitter disgruntled hip hop head, and they just go back and forth over everything and topics and shit. So Joe didn't re-up. They didn't renegotiate. Well, whatever. So then they looked for a replacement. So now Star is the replacement older head.
Oh, okay.
Going at it with Academics every day.
That's cool.
But I don't know. I know Star gets a bad rap or whatever. Like he's one of the most entertaining. Like
I don't really care. I
yeah.
said, for me, it's just like when you first see what people do. I don't like how people treat comedy.
Right.
And Ed Lover
Yeah.
was the same way. He was convinced he was a comedian.
yeah.
He was convinced what we all did
He
was
hosts
nothing.
shows, but like I've heard so many comics say that he just does people's jokes, and he just plays on the stereotypes and.
It's not. It's like he thinks what we do is nothing.
Yeah.
And there's a craft behind what we do.
Yeah.
And that's what's really frustrating to me. Is
Yeah,
that
they-
like
they
you
don't
can't
respect that
just they
craft.
don't respect it
Yeah,
all.
a lot of people are like, oh, I make people laugh. I could do that shit. That shit is nothing. I
So,
can get
so
on
you
stage.
didn't want to do morning radio after you were kind of like
Here, I'll give you. I'll send this to
Send
you.
it, yes.
This is New York Magazine's description of what happened. I can give you that because it's on
okay.
it's on the web.
It's printed.
It's
It's
already
printed.
there.
It's out there. It's documented.
It's on the web. It was New York Magazine. Yeah.
Okay.
So I was like, it's funny.
So okay, so you are you a hip hop head?
I used to be.
Used to be. Okay, so let's
I'm
talk
kind
about
of a snob.
that. You snob. So like in your cars, pretty much you just stay in the 90s and 80s,
You know what?
early 2000s a little bit.
You know what? I decided I'm going to get to this state because I got like this young DJ that's going to work on my show.
That's
And
right.
I was like, okay, it's time to just get back into the world.
So you don't know
get
about.
back into the world.
So you don't know of a Lil Pump.
No, talk to me. Play it.
Gucci gang, Gucci gang, Gucci gang, Gucci gang,
Gucci gang.
Play it.
Gucci gang, Gucci gang, Gucci gang, Gucci gang.
I left when my lawsuit went on so long with Hot 97. By the time I left, I didn't want to hear no hip hop. I didn't care, and it was funny because all my friends that like when I was at Hot, they were like, I don't listen to hip hop because it's just angry music. And then all of a sudden, they all went into hip hop because hip hop was just got so good.
Yeah.
That like everybody had to jump on it, and by
Had
that
to.
time, I was gone.
He was gone.
Yeah.
So Lil Pump is an artist who has a song called Gucci Gang where he repeats that hook like I think probably like
Oh, God,
Like,
it's so bad. And you want to know
300,000
why?
times.
300 times in the song. It's only like a 2.5 minute song, but it's like almost number one.
And you don't know.
No Love Lost.
Yeah, it's like you don't want to know why. Actually like the whole thing is.
How long did this
We're
last?
looking at the lawsuit thing.
Yeah, it lasted for like 5 years.
How long was your show with Ed?
It wasn't that long. It was
Okay.
a short time.
Is this okay?
Yeah. I told an audience that I sucked his dick to get the job, and when I complained, they fired me. He said either she goes or I go. I got $1 million contract, and he kept shutting off my mic, and they were threatening to rape me on the air, and I was crazy.
What?
Yo,
Yeah, and then the FCC would come running in, and it was
FCC,
crazy.
Oh my god!
And he'd be like, "Well, we got to go do a meeting. But we got to do the meeting in my office." And he'd play all this porn in the background. It was
Suck
like it was
my
torture.
dick. That's
Yeah.
fucking horrible.
Yeah, and
that's the kind of stuff we have to go through.
And it was a station promoted event, so I was like,
Yeah.
if I was at any job, I'm paid for the station to be there. That's not like acceptable. What is hip hop? And
Only-
you're a comedian, and you're supposed to like.
have you
No,
done it?
that's slander. Like when I went through with Sinbad, he was like, "That's slander." I could have gotten paid for life on that one. I didn't. I was
You
just
didn't
like,
realize.
I was just kind of my lawyer kind of screwed up, and you'll hear this years later, and I'll teach you this. This is from age.
Give me some.
Okay,
Yeah, give me
maybe
some
wisdom.
wisdoms.
Someone there's a guy who used to work who was Richard Pryor's bodyguard for 20 years. His uncle was Flip Wilson.
Okay.
And he taught me a lesson. He's like, we'll spend years trying to be great artists so that we can please our audience, so we can make some money, so we can get our following. And you do all this work, but your work is focused on doing better with your job, right? Or promoting yourself.
Right.
Meanwhile, your own lawyer will be working with all the lawyers in Hollywood to try to figure out how to take your money.
Wow.
So guys like Flip Wilson were worth over $100 million at his death. But literally 6 hours before he was found dead, all the contracts switched it into like a conservatorship, so all the attorneys got the money, the family didn't get shit.
Yep.
Damn.
So like, and
My whole
so,
world just
and so
came
and so when
crashing.
I was talking, I have a couple friends that have tried to go into suing the system that have like major properties, major properties, like artist properties.
Okay.
And
You really fight for the artist. I dig that.
well, I'm
Or
just
try
trying
to.
I've tried to. That's why I've kind of got taken out the game because I was like really
Yeah.
trying to fight.
You
for
was
that.
on that like.
Yeah, I was like, this is wrong.
This is-
there's
Injustice.
yeah, and it was funny because this guy actually same thing. They took these studios. Some people, some big executives ended up taking these properties that are major property, like Staples, especially as artistic pieces in the African American community, taking them and taking the rights and just you can't sue the studios and you think you got a lawyer who's going to fight this lawyer, but you don't realize all these lawyers are all connected.
So I'm getting a lawyer from Haiti.
It's like that Changing Lanes movie. You guys saw that Changing Lanes
No,
movie
what's
with
that about?
Samuel Jack? What she just said.
Okay.
And then the lawyers try to take all the money from the guy. It's
Bleeding dry.
You
Yeah.
don't realize that, like, a lot of you have to think about other people who want to get in with studios.
Yeah.
So it's almost like you find somebody who's so far outside the system because people just want to get in with where all the big money is. So as opposed to doing you a favor. So my attorney's like, oh, I forgot to file these papers in federal court that would have gotten you paid for life, but I did the state court and you get some money. Well, why would you forget that? You're an attorney. You know what I'm saying? If
They
you don't
have other
file on one thing,
agendas.
so
Yeah,
you know what I mean? It's like, okay, where you
Nobody
get
really
paid on?
has your back.
Yeah, and so that's what's super hard as an artist. So you try to get to a point like, how do I, how do I create? How to protect what I have?
Right.
It's so tricky because people, even family members, you see famous people and their own family members turn
Oh
around
yeah,
and take
yeah.
it.
Dan
It's
Cook
just-
and his brother,
It's crazy.
the Gallaghers.
Money
That's
makes
bad.
people. Yeah, the Gallaghers. You're a funny dude, man.
I met Gallagher one time, man, and he was in New York one time just on some trip, and like he was just low key at the club at Ha, and we're all asking him a bunch of questions. And he was talking about how the brother, his brother like took his act, or he gave his brother the rights to his act,
Yeah,
and then he wanted it back, and the brother was like, no,
Yep.
it's
something like
The
that,
family, the
It's
family will get
it's
you.
insane.
and he had to take it back because he was like, no, motherfucker, I own this shit. Like you either stop or like, yeah.
It's the most insane thing. Like it's
Yeah.
really kind of sad. So it's like
Nah, I feel
and
you.
So I feel like it comes to a point where
Yeah, we don't get taught the business, man. You know what? Me and my friend, he's a comic in New York. He's doing this thing. Like we came up together, Nico, and we talk about how, like, when you start comedy, right, you're supposed to really just work on your funny, right? And if you ever like even remotely ask about money, veterans will kind of like get up in a hoorah and be like, "You shouldn't even be thinking about
Yeah, you
money,
should be
talking about
putting-
money, asking
putting
money."
in
But
work,
then
putting
by the
in
time
work,
you get
yeah.
funny and you warrant some amount of respect in that business sense, you don't know what to ask for. So we're always kind of like shortchanging ourselves and lowballing ourselves because I think outright off the gate, you should just learn that you gotta love the comedy, but you also gotta work on your business. I think it's not right to keep rejecting our curiosity about business.
Yeah, I think
even at the infant stage of comedy.
Yeah,
because,
you're totally right.
You know what I mean?
Well, it's just, but it's so hard because like they're guys that like when you're talking to veterans, they're not getting paid for the gig, and then a young guy comes in, and then you ask him, and he can barely do 5 minutes, and you're putting him on, and then he turns around and asks about money. That will get like
it does, yeah.
Because those big guys are not getting paid. So,
right. Especially when they deal with the people with followings and who have like big social media followings, and they get booked on the same show, and the veteran guy's maybe getting 1,000, he's getting like 5. But
and he can only do 5 minutes,
if that. And
so
I have a friend, Trev. He did a show in the DR with a big social media cat, and like he was cocky like the whole weekend. Like he wasn't even trying to talk to people. Like just he had his little posse with him, and then they do the show. My boy, was doing like 15-20, crushes it. He's headlining the show, so all the comics go up in there and body the show, and then he bombs horribly.
And that's the one with the big fan base.
Big following, whatever like that.
I don't know why.
And he was so humble. Now then he was trying to talk to everybody after the show, like, "Hey, what's up, man?
That's hilarious."
And it was just another person.
That's why I don't understand.
That was birthed out
why
of
do they
that.
want to come to comedy? Like, if you are,
I think you should host.
like,
I think if you're social media,
if you're a social media guy, why would you choose comedy? Like, you're making your money. And what makes you think that you can do what we do? Like that's the level of disrespect.
Yeah. But see, if I'm a social media cat, like if I'm doing Instagram videos and shit like that, like I would never. Well, my mentality, I respect because I respect the arts like that. I would host because at least hosting, it's like you should have enough personality where you can just talk some shit, get some laughs, but keep it moving. Like there's no pressure to really have to be that funny.
Why can't they just be like, well, I got a zillion social media followers, and now I'm going to be on a cooking show.
They got to get that.
They got to go to the comedy.
They got to go to comedy.
But you can go and become a chef. Just go in. I'm going to go.
Comedy on the cooking
I got a
show?
big enough. No, they're not funny. They were never comedians in the first place.
Right.
So they pick our art. Like they can do it. There's cooking shows. There's any kind of TV shows. There's famous race car. Then I'll be like, you know what? I got 1 million followers, and if you let me race in the Indy 500, I can bring all these audience members. Nobody turns around and says, let's bring him in so that he can put him behind the wheel of a race car.
Right.
Yeah, but they
You know what I'm saying?
don't.
So,
A lot
Emery,
of them
you work
don't
with
last long.
you work with a lot of
Like
Instagram
they
comics,
do a
right?
couple of shows,
Yeah, so
and
they
then
die.
you don't
What we
see them
need to do-
again.
This is what we need to do.
You don't see them again.
This is what I
they
think.
bomb
If every
so hard.
comedian did this, we'd be golden. If every comedian who was on a show, every true comedian that was on a show with some Instagram superstar,
Right.
took a video and filmed it of the guy bombing and tagged his ass in it and hashtagged it so his audience knew he wasn't funny, then these people would go away faster. But the comics, we're such dingbats.
Fucking
We're sitting there
spineless cowards.
Yeah, we're like, I was like,
Maybe they'll put me in the video so I can get my followers up.
I was trying to get a free Hennessy. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You're over there trying to get free drinks. Could you be, you know what? How about this? Stop trying to make friends with me. Film the dude, tag him. Oh, that's right. He's so famous. I'm going to film this wonderful stand-up set that he did, and I'm going to throw it up
They're not
online.
gonna
So you're in
do
the
it,
loop with
'cause-
them. So like, yeah.
I'm totally in the loop
So
with them.
tell
I've
us a
seen
little
it.
bit, since you kind of you dabble.
Well, I mean, I've seen a lot of YouTube. Well, I worked at the Improv for a year, and I've seen a lot of YouTube stars that go there. They sell out the whole place, like you said, and they eat a dick. And it's kind of like that could have been a show for
I
like
think that's
real
a
comics.
hashtag. That's a hashtag. Eat a dick. I think we need a hashtag. It, eat a dick. Hashtag.
dick.
And then like we whoever the famous person is that can't do 5 minutes, we show, and we should even put a clock on it.
Yeah.
Here we go.
Oh,
should run like
God.
a time
How
code.
long did it last?
1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, 3 minutes. He's sucking in 3 minutes. They got 3 opening jokes. You want to go pay your money for this? And then like tag, you know what I mean? You throw it to the universe with their name, and that way we're doing some good towards society. We have to be proactive and protect
We can
ourselves.
start a
There's
movement.
see, that's the whole thing. There's no
union.
There's no union. There's no camaraderie. And the fact is that if we all just sat down and just protected each other, we wouldn't even be in this situation.
I want to make you head of the comics
I
union.
know. I'm
Maija.
already got
You
too
don't
much
want that?
trouble. I'm
Okay,
already in
all
too
right.
much trouble.
Maija
My job is
rejected my
shut
proposal.
up.
She rejected my proposal. Comics, I tried to fight
You
for us.
tried,
Maija
you
ain't want to
tried.
lead us. Yo.
I don't know why you got me in this. Like, you got me in this militant conversation anyway.
Let's
now all of a
let's
sudden
take it
I'm
lighter.
talking all kinds of
No.
No, but it's
smack
it
that's
needs
going to get
be-
me in trouble.
No, but it needs to
We
be
got to keep
said,
we got to keep that aspect of the conversation going in comedy because honestly, it's okay. We got to keep that alive because it's still wrong that that's happening and it's continuing to happen. And at some point, the shift will change, but you got to first talk about it. So, but I want to shift into something a little light sided. We're not going to take out of the militant shit. So, Maija, have you ever smashed a guy with holes in their socks? And
Smashed a guy with holes.
don't
in
they
their
fuck better than
socks.
guys who do have good socks? I have this theory: guys with holes in their socks, they can fuck their ass off. And girls, women, they like to entertain that because they know the options are not better out there. So they keep the guy with the hole in their sock around.
Well, there's three things on the table with that question. One, do I be polite and support your joke? Because I feel like it's part of your, it's a shtick that you're throwing at me.
It's a theory.
It's a crash shtick
Yes.
that I need to make a discussion. You know what? I've discovered that the guys are always a surprise. So basically, the guys that you think that would have holes in their socks might end up being the ones that are the most neurotic. The guys that you look at them from the outside, you're like, they have holes in their socks, and then. I know what you're saying.
Yeah.
But the guys with holes in their socks are usually the ones that I see getting nothing. The guys with holes in their socks are usually the one with Star Wars action figures. And they don't leave the house and they ain't even looking to get
That's
any
been your
action.
experience?
Yes.
So Star Wars action?
Yeah,
okay.
the Star Wars action figures, and so they don't smash anything. They don't try anything. They don't even try. They don't even try to hit on you. They're just your best friend. And they go hang out with you and go to the pizza parlor. Those are the guys with holes in their socks.
Really?
Yeah.
How you feel about it? Have you smashed some dudes with holes in their socks? Have they been Star Wars?
Well, I mean, once you said that, I was tracking my dickometer and then socks and all that jazz. I was thinking, I get what she's saying, and I'm with that. But then on the flip side, maybe a weed connect kind of guy with the selling weed or something might have that, and so he might get a little bit of pussy if he's throwing some free weed out there for the chicks.
I hear what you're saying.
But me personally, I don't remember being with someone with holes in their socks ever. But I was with someone who made me put on socks.
When y'all smash.
You're funny. I like the way
smash.
I love the way she delivered that. I love the way she came out. I was with someone that made me put on. I didn't think she was going there at all.
As you know, definitely as a black man, I'm definitely on the keeping socks on movement. Like I gotta really love you to take my socks off when we have sex. I keep my socks on all the time.
You have, but do you have holes in your
you keep your socks on? You keep the socks on. Right?
That brings another theory. But I'll say this: that I understand what you're saying, because guys that you think that would have holes in their socks, because they're guys that I go, you definitely have holes in your socks. So the guys that were like the biggest thugs that like,
what
were
kind
the
of
guys
hole
that might
like a baby hole?
No, it's like little,
it's strange. Like guys that were like the thug guys that were like, how can you date him? He's such a thug, and everyone's like, oh, he must be great in bed, and he is great in bed. But the thing is that oddly, I'll go home and that guy who everyone's scared of, that you think is like the toughest dude, and blah blah blah, and he's broke as can be, and then you go home and he's like folding his socks in his underwear, and I'm like, this guy is way too organized to be a thug. This is like, so people have like, that throws me off.
No, but it's a little scary.
Yeah, then they're like, it's like, oh my God, he's the most proper, clean cut, organized thug I have ever met in my entire life. And that's like, so I never get the stereotype. So the guy who you'd think would be, doing other, then the other thing that she brought up, what was the last thing they just brought up? Something else.
Keeping socks on?
Keeping socks on. No, it's a black man thing to keep socks on. In fact, I do have a joke that I was working on, and I keep pulling it, and because I'm just trying to lift the joke, so you pull what's not necessary, about me dating a mixed guy.
Oh, mixed on mixed.
Yeah, and it was very frustrating, because I thought it was gonna be perfect because we had the mixing, but then he had a white mother, and I didn't realize that makes it's a big difference if you're a white mother. It's like night and day.
She don't know how to comb his hair, all that kind of shit.
But white Latina or white?
No, white.
Or just white?
Yeah. So that was very, very odd, and I thought it was gonna be cool at first, and then we go to this show, and he's like, "I'm performing. You got to come see me." So I go there. And
what kind of performance?
He was a guitarist.
Okay.
And I was, because I was used to my hip hop thug, so I'm like, yes, now I'm moving on to a guitarist,
Yeah.
And so and he was brilliant. He was an author, and he was wrote essays, and he was playing guitar,
vibes.
yeah.
So
you
on indie
so
shit.
he runs on stage, and he runs on stage with his guitar, and he had on no socks. And all of a sudden, I didn't realize what that, like, it was very...
He had no socks?
No socks. And so I was like...
I don't do that
and
ever.
no, here's the thing. That's why I was like, what kind of self-respecting black man is going to be... Not, like, black men don't even show their feet at the beach. They'll ruin a perfectly good pair of sneakers at the beach. A brand new pair of sneakers, ruin them rather than take off your socks. This guy's on stage showing his bare feet, and I got mad. And I'm like starting to hate this guy because he's up on stage showing his bare feet, because I'm like, you're not black. You're not black at all. And then all of a sudden, where it turns out we were in a yoga studio, so all these white folks were, I'm like, you got to take off your shoes too. And then I didn't even have on matching socks. I was in some fly boots. I had on no matching socks. And then I was like, man, I'm fighting with them like I'm a black man with bad feet, fighting because I didn't want to take off
You
my
took on that
shoes. Now
fight.
I'm fighting with yoga people.
It's that white mama, though.
It was the white mother.
Yeah.
It screwed that
Disgusting.
completely up.
Yeah,
completely
that's
up.
not-
I'm disgusted right now.
I didn't that's how I felt.
Yeah, it's not.
And so he didn't understand what turned me off because everything was perfect.
Right.
And then he's up there singing about like being mixed race. So it's all like, you know what that sounds like to a guitar? It's like, la, 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 diverse, we can all live together.
Oh, God.
Happiness. And I was like, oh no.
Motherfucker's soft.
Yeah.
Oh, the
This went
softness.
completely wrong. See what happens? You have a white mother.
like
if it a
the-
black mother, would have been
So-
like Hendrix.
The
If it
cooch
was-
is just drying up.
Right.
Cooch is just drying up like, oh.
So so clearly what we got to do is because Maija you live in LA, right? And,
Yes,
you're
I
gonna
am.
be here, right? This is where
Yeah.
you're
Yeah.
making home.
Yeah.
So we got to find Maija a mixed brother, black
Yeah.
mama, white daddy. It's not gonna work
With socks.
other than that.
With
So-
socks.
With I kind of like a little neurotic. So yeah, it could
Little
be like
neurotic.
yeah, it could be like
what kind of
mismatched
neurotic are we talking? Like Larry David neurotic? Are we talking like?
I think all mixed people are Larry David
Oh my.
neurotic. And
Really?
yeah,
Oh,
and I'll
that's
tell you
too
why.
much
Yeah, it
sauce.
is too much. That's the
It's
reason
anxiety. I
why.
can't
It is
deal with that.
anxiety. That's so either it's yeah, exactly. So that's why I usually just date black men because otherwise it becomes.
Okay.
But then they get to be so much work. I need my aunt
So
always
how's
calls
it
me
going
up.
with
My
white
aunt
guys?
always calls me up. She's like, "You need to find yourself a white boy."
How's it
I'm
going?
tired of these things. I don't want to drop any Edwards. I'm tired of these things. You blah 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 blah.
Nah, you can say it. Yeah.
You got to get yourself a. So I decided I'm calling all of my pretty nieces and telling you all need to find a white boy. I'm tired of this shit. I'm like, okay, I'm Marlene.
So your preference or you gravitate towards black men?
No, the problem is white men used to beat the hell out of me growing up because I was an odd-looking kid. I had
Oh, wow.
bad. They didn't have hair products.
We're talking
for
about
me.
guys you dated or just kids in the playground?
Kids in the playground. So my
Okay.
hair was just like jacked up, and,
Right.
and we never fit like a stereotype. Like there's two
Dude,
types
kids
of
are the
mixed
worst.
kids. You got like two types of like mixed kids. There's one
Right.
with the crazy hair.
Oh, yeah,
and
that
there's
beautiful
one-
angel, the Halle Berry.
No, like the crazy, uncontrolled hair that's like a
Yeah.
peach skin and an afro. And then my sister had straight hair. She looked like one of Prince's girls. She looked like an Apollonia type. So, but they treated her like she was from India
All right.
up until she was in high school. Then everybody liked her. But me, I was always like the beast because I couldn't control my hair. So they used to like peg me with rocks and beat the hell. I made like the white boys like few
So that
grades
always
ahead of
just
me.
made you go like, no white men when I get older.
No, it wasn't like it was like even if I like them, they don't really accept me because
Okay.
they get to be like, I'm like, what are you? I'm black and Italian. No, you're not. You're not. You're lying.
Motherfucker.
You're just trying to be down with hip hop. Oh, come on.
Really?
You're not really black. You don't have to say that.
But even
you're
now?
not black. Yeah, I get that all the time. I get it almost every day.
Damn.
Almost every day. I'm like, why can't you just?
Just when you told me, I
accept
believed
the
you.
fact that the
Yeah, I
rest of
believe
this
it too.
world doesn't see the world from your
Yeah.
eyes.
I'm like, white girl, but she got the nigga nose. So I was like, clearly she's mixed.
Wait till if I didn't put stuff in his hair, you'd really find out.
Right. So
I got,
now,
like,
yeah.
15 different products
I
in this
definitely
head.
believed you off the rip.
Yeah. That's very funny. So
So you really not gonna rap?
no.
go
I
right.
come from, like I said, I come from bougie Black Broadway, so I could do like a Lena Horne number for you. I
Horne
get too hungry. It's for dinner. I eat.
Ooh.
Okay.
I love the theater. Theater.
How you spell
Never
theater?
complain.
How
Theater.
would that spell?
That was what it's fun.
THEY? Yata?
Theater. Oh, blah, 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 blah. And that's what, and I found my group. So yeah, I found
Okay.
I found my tribe.
Okay. Oh,
And,
you had a topic we was talking about before we go up. The Grammys are tonight, right? So
Yes.
we watching I'm not watching the Grammys, but I'm gonna keep track on who wins and shit like
Yes,
that.
you got to.
So there was an artist. Go ahead. You know
Jay Holiday.
Jay Holiday. He had a song called "Put You to Bed." It was a big hit in like 09, 08. He got nominated. You know, he had like his run. He's a songwriter, but he had finally had like some success. But he's been pretty cold the last few years. So he had this big rant the other day.
Yeah, no. So basically, he was saying that women artists who have songs about like pain, what they go through, like getting cheated on or whatever, like Beyonce and SZA. She's like a weekend side chick. She's getting nominated for a Grammy.
And
he
Cardi,
was-
right? He made
and Cardi B.
He took some shots at Cardi.
Yeah,
You know who Cardi
Cardi.
B is? Okay, all
And
right.
and then so he was really salty about it, and he was just saying that they shouldn't get that. Like they shouldn't talk about their pain. They shouldn't. Did you see that at all?
I didn't see that,
Do
but
you
that's
know who
hilarious.
Jay
That's
Holiday is?
hilarious.
And he
Like,
was crying about it.
you're not allowed to talk about your pain. That's what, art's. That's what
Shouldn't
art's
use
about.
that, right.
That's what art's about. These guys are so funny because they get so upset about this Me Too movement, and I'm kind of cracking up with it.
With
Like,
the Me Too thing.
Yeah, it's just cracking me up. It's making me laugh because like guys are so upset this happens but we're upset all day long over this stuff that happens.
Yeah.
24/7.
We have to go through it all
And
the
talking
time.
about it is nowhere near as stressful as fucking going through a horrible date,
But it's what's great-
or somebody who actually raped you, took advantage of you.
Yeah,
whatever.
and I feel bad. There's some women just saying stupid stuff because it's like
Like the
you know,
Aziz
like they
date
didn't
thing.
consider sexual assault, like groping was not considered sexual assault
Right.
like forever. This is like the first time I'm hearing this considered sexual assault.
Yeah.
So like you could go to like a guy could pounce on you, but if he didn't rape you, you know what I mean? And
It's
you
all
could, even
good.
if he attempted it, like the cops wouldn't do nothing. You can go and
Right.
file a report, they wouldn't take it.
Yeah.
So now it's like considered something, which is great because you shouldn't have to put, but we've had to it's the same thing. We've had to fight every step of the way, and it's just the same way with any people of color. We've always had to every step that we've had to fight for, and then everybody gaslights us and acts like it's not happening. It's the same thing. It's the same thing. Like, oh, that didn't really happen. Oh, that wasn't so bad. They do that with Black America all the time. Well, that didn't really happen. That was so long ago. That wasn't so bad. It wasn't now. Well, now it's not really recent. It doesn't happen that much. Well, it happened Tuesday. Well, it didn't happen, but it doesn't happen all over. You can't tell me that 44 million Black Americans are all having the same experience of racism. I've actually had that discussion. They could
They're
all,
always
not
doing
all
that.
not all Black people experience racism. Yes, I can say that right here, right now. Every Black person that has ever
Can
walked the face of
confirm.
the earth has.
At some
but
point.
you would rather believe your little opinion
Yeah.
than believe 40 million other people that are telling you, like every woman has been either groped, harassed.
Every
Right.
single
and
and big
400 to
number of
500 of
raped.
documented history.
Yeah. And so for us to bring it up, it makes people uncomfortable. Well, change always makes people uncomfortable.
Absolutely.
Progress always makes people uncomfortable. So even as comedians or artists, you sit there and you say, well, do I bother making people uncomfortable and make a great piece of art? And then there's always going to be people get mad all the time just because I tell them, they say, you're supposed to just talk about your family, how you came up, like tell us your story in stand up. Well, you don't accept my story. I have so much friction telling people my story. Just to
Yeah.
tell people what I am growing up.
Because they get uncomfortable and all that stuff.
Oh, well, this isn't really, you're just trying to make a point about, when you just bring up Black, they're like, you're just trying to make a point about Black. You're just saying this because
Oh
you're
my
trying to make a
goodness.
point.
No, it's been an issue for me.
No, I'm
motherfucker.
trying to tell you what my everyday, I'm trying to just tell you my everyday struggle and I'm like my everyday fight between my mother and my grandmother. But you brought up the Black word. And when you say Black, you're just saying that to make us feel bad. And you're saying this because you're trying to say
they
something.
try to put you
And
in
then
a bubble.
They sit there and look at you like, this would have been a lot
Man,
more
whi-
interesting
white
if I
guilt
didn't
is
tell you
something else,
about
man. I
it. Would
wish
be
I
a
had-
lot more interesting if I didn't tell you, if you didn't bring up that B word in the middle of it.
There's nothing more passionate than white guilt, man.
Oh, yeah.
Than somebody trying to evoke that white guilt on you.
Just to protect not feeling bad. And meanwhile, people are dying
For sure.
and getting raped and
not getting specials.
And we're not, and not getting specials and we're
Not
not.
getting enough money for
Not getting what they worth.
That's what I actually posted. What I did
Oh,
post on people's page that asked me about Monique was the speech of Sojourner Truth, which was "Ain't I a Woman?" Because Black women have never been treated, never had that. They said, well, the right to vote. The argument was that if women were, why should women vote when they're so dainty and they need to be helped into carriages and we need to help carry them and they're not able to do these things for themselves, and that's the reason why they shouldn't have the right to vote, because women physically do not have what men have, and that's why we have to take care of them and aid them. That was the argument for the against women's right to vote. And then Sojourner Truth came out and she said, well, as a Black woman, I've never been helped into carriages. I've had to gather up things into barns and work in the fields the same way any man has. And I've done my share and better than most of the men with what I've had to do. But ain't I a woman? So the speech is called Ain't I a Woman? So she goes into that
Beautiful,
whole
yeah.
speech.
That's powerful.
But so you look at, the devaluing even throughout history, Black women were still, it was like the women's suffrage movement was very much a white woman's movement.
Yeah.
Even though, you go to the white suffrage movement museum, there's Harriet Tubman and Sojourner Truth.
You know, it's funny. I've been talking
We're
to a
still
lot
dealing
of
with that.
Black women who went to the march this year, and they were so disgusted because it was just like
the Women's March?
The women's march that was last week. They was like, we're not even going for these same things the way the white women had these posters and shit like that.
Yeah.
Like what they're trying to advocate and what they're fighting for, it's like y'all don't even get it. Like they really feel like a disconnect with white women.
There is. It's there. It's interesting because racism and sexism work the exact same way.
For sure, they
But
intersect.
there's still a divide, because if you look at the entire racial divide, it was the biggest core, the heart of the racial divide was to keep from Black men from messing with their women.
Right.
So it was always white women are here, white women aren't allowed to speak for themselves, but they're considered our property. And now, as a white woman being a property, well, we don't want a black man to hook up with a white woman. So we're going to create this whole thing of racism and build this entire thing. And so the racism, all the focus becomes on hating black men. Black women are considered not even non-existent and forgotten. And that's why when I like even talk to my aunts who like their husbands left them for white women, she's like, she didn't even consider me. She didn't even consider me as part of the picture. I'm that she'd walk over and be like, well, I'm a white woman. I know that he wants to be with me.
Wow.
As opposed to considering that here I am as a woman, that this is my man, this is my marriage.
Right.
You know? But this is all psychologically how we've all learned to communicate. And then that's the reason why black women have had to go make all the money historically, because black men weren't hired, because everyone was afraid if they hired a black man, they'd be after their white women. So now we're caught in this weird thing, and then the white men are like, well, I'm not racist. I go out with Tyrone. You're like, wait, hold on, whoa. We're missing everything. Everything is crisscrossing because there's no communication.
Right.
But if we actually taught some history, but it's actually now the history says that we didn't even have slavery for more than a couple of weeks.
I read that.
So.
I read that.
Slavery was the worst, 3 weeks America has ever had.
Yeah.
It was a tough winter. We got through. I don't know how we got through December.
So sorry if I turned your show militant. But.
Are you serious? This is for the culture.
This is the culture. This is the culture.
This we teaching out here.
So and it's not to hate on, because it's not to hate on white women or hate on, but this is how we've all been conditioned.
I call it passion.
But it's the same way that well, it's like our thought process. Like I have a bit about black women. Being raised by my mother, which was always aggressive women, where white women are passive aggressive.
Yeah.
So if you're dealing with people saying, well, that's a stereotype to say black women are aggressive. No, black women were always had to go and be the breadwinners anyway, and had to be had to be assertive to actually get what was needed. Where white women, the only way to get stuff, for them to only negotiate because the way people were looking at them was to be passive aggressive.
Right.
So they're like, I kind of want this, but I don't know. But why are you crying? I don't know. And it's
very manipulative.
But that's the only way that they were able to create their progress.
Yeah, my mom's philosophy because we talked when I got to she knows I was in the girls and whatever like that, and we talked about white women and had our whole. It was so weird. So her thing is, I can date a white woman.
Police and a white woman.
No. She actually doesn't mind. She's just like, I just don't want trailer trash. That's my mom's thing. Just don't bring home no trailer trash, because I ain't gonna have nothing to talk about with their parents. That's how my mom. That's what my mom thought. She was like, if you did white girl, cool, I guess. But if they grow up in the city, you know what I mean. So it's that they have some. There's
kind of
a conversation to be had. But I would always prefer black folks, because then we could talk about Luther and cook inside. But that's like her thing. It was just like, please no trailer trash. Did you ever talk with your mom about white boys, or how did that go with you?
She really, I'm Cuban, and Japanese. So my family, I have Cuban, Japanese, Afro-Cuban, Spaniard. I have a mix of people in my family. So for us, it was never an issue. Like, she's just like, make sure he's not crazy. Like, it's never been about the skin color at all.
But that's what's funny, because mix. They say like all the different cultures. All like when I go down to Puerto Rico, like all those cultures are already mixed up.
We're all mixed up.
That's true.
And so that's how that entire culture is. Whereas we're still fighting the.
But there's a little bit more in the conversation in terms of like with black, white, and Hispanic, because being from Haiti, there's a lot of like colorism that goes on, and then when you, of course, our neighbors, the DR, there's a lot of stuff with that, with our history and how Dominicans, they're kind of like in the down about blackness, some of them, and and color and light skin, that stuff is very like prominent, especially in my family. So like I had to have those conversations, and I'm not, I date who I like, but it's still like in the back of my mind, I still have some of that embedded, just in terms of like how I go about things, because you
learn how to deal with people sometimes, and
but I appreciate
when they're stereotyped. Yeah.
My family, I just have an asshole meter. You're either a piece of shit or you're not.
That's
fuck
fine.
with you or I don't.
Oh, you're also Miami too.
Yeah,
so it makes a big difference.
It has nothing to do with color.
I had so many cultural divides and classism divides. That were. I mean, I had racism rolling through my entire family. Like one side of my family was completely racist against the other side of the family, and my grandparents that were the Italians that loved us to death, but they were racist and tried to disown my dad. But we were their only grandkids, so they accepted us. Right. But they were still.
Can you just leave your dad home?
Yeah, my mom. Yeah, exactly.
Give him a couple hours, but don't come inside. Drop her at the doorstep.
Yeah, exactly. It was. And so you learn. There's a lot of things I think in just my life that just are things that I like to draw points to that I think are helpful.
And I want to keep following what you're doing. So you got your radio show that's about to come out
you
on
can
Dash
follow
Radio.
me on, you can just follow me at Maija Returns, Maija Returns.
On Instagram, Twitter,
Facebook, everything.
Facebook. And then what else you got coming up besides that going on for this year? Like you have some goals, you got some things you want to do.
Are you gonna do the one woman?
You getting a special?
I might do a one woman show.
How much is Netflix throwing at you, girl?
I'm gonna, and I'm looking to see. Like I know I'm geared up and pretty much ready to do a special.
Okay.
And that's kind of been in discussion of like, okay, who's going to be who's directed it?
She's
and
an
who's
industry
doing what.
word. So you got in development, it's in talks.
Yeah, I guess so. That's what it is. I'm just sitting there trying to figure out.
I mean, it's a time now, especially with Netflix. People are just selling their shows out there, and
and other platforms as well.
Yeah, there's a lot of things opening up. I feel like I'm just kind of lining myself up right now. I feel like I'm figuring out LA and enjoying starting to make noise.
You like it here? A lot of people ask me, do I like LA and New York? I think I don't try to compare because they're just not the same city.
You can't. Well, I of course I'm not gonna I like my home the best,
I love
but
New York,
I as soon as I stopped comparing them, I was good.
It got so much better. Like I already know going in, when you come in from New York, you're either two kinds of comics. You're the comic that's gonna try and go through his rat race in LA, or you're the comic that's coming in with your heat. So things are kind of already being tossed at you to a degree, and you kind of shift. The shift is a lot easier. So it's like, but my shift was I'm a funny comic, but I don't really have much in terms of the credits or the resume. So I gotta get my weight up out here. So this stand up I do less. Obviously I don't get as much stage time, but I'm trying to do other things. So like that was just natural. Like I can't expect to get on 10 times a week like I did in New York and still try to do everything else.
But that's all of us. That's all of us. And that's why I liked making I'm going to be doing more of my show. You should come through when I do that.
For sure.
But I'm doing more. I'm doing more. I'm trying to do more of these. Cool. Well, that's what I'm saying. I'm trying to do more of these the Maija show over at the Improv, and it's been good. We got like always killer lineups like Bill Burr.
Oh yeah. She had a dope ass lineup when I came to your show.
Yeah, Michael Blackson the last week. So it's just been like each we've been just building a lot of those. So I wanted to try to get it up to once a week so I can then put like my friends on and then still have my heavy hitters come in that are guys that I came up with in New York.
That's dope because they all respect you, so they'll come through. Then the LA
really
guys respect you.
But the vibe of the room is different. For some reason, I've been magically able to create a New York vibe in that room.
You have.
The Hollywood Improv.
At the Hollywood Improv Lab. I'm using the lab.
The lab.
And they did a couple of shows in the big room, but like I was like the lab is
where it's
at. So tiny because people are like listening and it's intimate and it feels like New York.
It does.
It feels like New York. Like everybody who comes in goes, I've never felt a show this way in the lab ever.
Because the main room, like for some reason, I like I said, I worked there for a year, and it's a hit or miss in the main room sometimes.
Well, I mean, I have big acts, but the difference is that like I got Sinbad and Bill Burr to do a show together.
Oh, in the main room.
And we're good with big stages.
Yeah.
But something was really we're so jam packed now in the lab, and we're selling out, and it's packed, and everyone's like sneaking in the back, and then you have I have like a lineup of like 7 like all headliner comics that all know each other. So it's just this weird camaraderie and this energy and it's so super intimate that now it's just like it just had this vibe of like the way it was when we used to work out in the city. And I think and we keep discussing like, well, if you move it to the big room, it's going to change that like everyone's like in this tight little spot and we're listening real
you got to
close.
keep it in the, well, I know you were the Boston Comedy Club era, right?
Yeah.
So you're trying to bring that Boston vibe to a sense, the cellar. Yeah. That's which is great. Like I dig it.
The stage feels like the cellar in the
You did
lab.
the Dime recently, right?
No, I haven't been over there.
You were supposed to.
I was supposed to. I had to go out of town.
Okay, because I was gonna come check you out because I know I had put you in touch with Adam because when I was hosting the room, I was like, I wanted, this is like a New York kind of feel room too. So at some point,
I got to go back over there. I just hit him up because I just been back. I was out of town. And now I'm back. So
dope. So Maija's here tomorrow. We want to thank you so much for coming to do the show.
Absolutely,
we appreciate you.
Congratulations on your first show.
Thank you.
This went very smoothly and a great meeting you. Meeting you as well.
So
well,
they can follow you at Maija Returns, right?
Maija Returns, Maija.
And look out for her show on Dash Radio and your monthly show.
It's gonna be weekly.
It's gonna be weekly
by March.
By March,
at
the Hollywood Improv.
And it's a morning show. For the Dash Radio.
No, I run it like a morning show. I cover everything. That's what I'm saying. So
okay.
It's 12 to 3. It's 12 to 3.
The weather. She's gonna do weather.
The
rumor report.
Yeah.
Weather
Metro traffic. Then we're gonna Metro traffic.
Right. Thank you so much, Maija. I've been your host, Nick Alexander.
Amarie Lee.
This is the podcast that we doing for the culture.
Yes.
I did it for y'all, yeah.
Woo.